Hello and welcome to 1040 KGGR live here on Facebook, all over the place. Brother Robert Ashley with you. And today we're going to talk legalities and litigation, if you will. And of course, we have a very distinguished attorney who is with us. He's no stranger to the 1040 KGGR listening family, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. He's no stranger. The one and only attorney Steve Pipkin is with us here on 1040 KGGR, as well as our Facebook page and YouTube. Now, for many of you, we're getting ready for the holiday season. Now, y'all have to realize that here in the state of Texas, where we have millions of people on the roads, somebody is going to be involved in an accident. Now, we pray that if you are involved in an accident, we pray that you will survive the accident. But also, we want you to know the ABCs of what you need to do to make sure that you can be well and, of course, hold those accountable in terms of accidents. Now, also, we don't want you being in an accident, so let's drive and be careful. But first of all, Attorney Steve Pipkin, we want to welcome you back to 1040 KGGR, our Facebook Live, and, of course, our YouTube channel. And God bless you. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. How are you, attorney?
I'm good. God bless you. And I'm so happy to be speaking to you again and the entire KGGR family.
Well, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Attorney, you know, we're in this time of the season. You have handled an accident for me when I was just sitting at a light and wind up getting caught in between two women who were driving. But what is the thing? What do we need to know about the possibility of being involved in an accident as we're getting ready to go through the holiday season? And of course, we have people on the roads drinking and driving.
Yeah. The first thing I would suggest for everybody is call your insurance agent today or look at your policy and paperwork if you have it and see, do you have uninsured motorist coverage? And what that means is a lot of us were kind of trained by our parents. And when the law came out, and I get it, that if you're driving an older car, you know, it's old, maybe it's 10 years old or whatever, and the value is not going to be as high, but it still is important. It may be your main vehicle. It gets you to work. It gets you to the grocery store. It gets your kids to the doctor, everything you need in life. And the problem is we said, well, liability is cheaper. I'll just put liability on this car because it's an older car. But you can't think that way anymore because there are so many millions of people that are here in this Dallas, Tarrant County, Collin County, metroplex, and so many of them do not have insurance. They're uninsured, didn't have it, never had it, or they're excluded drivers, meaning, you know, mom has a 20-something-year-old son and he has not been the best driver. And so the company tells mom, hey, look, we'll give you insurance, but we're putting it in your policy that Junior is excluded, which means if you let Junior drive this car and he has an accident, we will not cover you. And if that happens, and he hits you, then he's an uninsured motorist. Well, what happens is I get countless calls of clients who've been in bad accidents, some critical care. I've had some death cases where the people only had liability on their car and the responsible party was uninsured with no insurance at all, or was an excluded driver, or it lapsed 2 days before. And in those situations, if you have not added uninsured motorists to your policy, you're not protected. So that one car that may not have been new that got you everywhere, you're no longer going to be able to get it fixed because you have to have comp collision to get it fixed. And now you're looking for a way for someone like me to help, but I really can't because the person may have done a hit and run and we don't know who they are or where they are. Or two, they stuck around, but they have no insurance. So then if you didn't have uninsured coverage, you're back to square one where you have no car, you're injured, you have medical bills, you have no way to work, the grocery store. It's a horrible situation. So for that extra $10 a month or whatever it may be, my biggest advice is please call today and see if you have uninsured motorist coverage and add it to your policy.
Yes. So attorney, you're saying that I could have full coverage and not have uninsured motorist coverage in it?
Absolutely, because what happens is a lot of people say, I have full coverage, Mr. Pipkin, and then we call their company and they really don't. And sometimes they have some employees working for them that aren't the brightest, who just say that. Maybe they're not the best trained and they say, oh yeah, ma'am, you have full coverage, but they don't. They might have liability. They might have comp collision, which will get your car fixed, maybe, if you will, but they may not have uninsured coverage.
Wow.
And so you need to be able to speak their same language, use their terms, and then they'll give you a declaration page that'll show exactly what you have. Do you have PIP? Do you have uninsured motorist coverage? Do you have underinsured coverage? Underinsured helps you if, let's say, you're hit and injured severely. you're hospitalized for a week. You have $80,000 in medical bills. You may have even had an operation, but if not, your high medical bills and you're injured. Well, let's say the person responsible had minimal limits, which in Texas means they only have 30,000, but you've got 60 or 80 in medical bills.
Right.
Well, that's why you want underinsured coverage, because you can go to your company and say, I am underinsured. The person who's responsible only had 30,000 in coverage. My damages are at least 100. So I want to use my underinsured coverage to try to balance this out. And that's another reason why that's important.
So this day of just having liability insurance, a lot of people think, well, if I got liability insurance, I'm safe driving, but that's not the case anymore.
That's the minimal limits of the law, that you have to have that, because we
Yes.
want people to be able to take care of other people's car if you're at fault, but it doesn't take care of you.
My goodness. Well, once again, we're talking here with attorney Steve Pipkins, and we're talking legalities and litigation. Now, once again, we're in the holiday season here, and believe it or not, somebody's going to be out there drinking and driving, and we don't want any of our 1040 listeners to be suffering as a result. Now, also, if you have only liability coverage, you just heard the attorney say the insured coverage, as well as, of course, the uninsured other motorists, because people are indeed out there. And attorney, can you give us your contact information so that people can call you and maybe find out more?
Absolutely. If you have any questions, give us a call at 214-780-0512. That's 214-780-0512.
Right. And Mr. Attorney, before we ask you about the steps to take when you're involved in an accident, has something happened now in the system where it's going to be harder to put on a proof that you've been injured, or has something changed within presenting evidence in a case if indeed you're a victim?
It has. We had a case that's come through it was either late March or May. I don't have it in front of me. It's called In re Allstate, and it is a Texas Supreme Court case. And so for those, it's no secret. The Texas Supreme Court has always been ultra conservative.
Yes.
All of the members on the Texas Supreme Court are appointed by the Republican governor. We all know we've had Republican governors going from Abbott to Rick Perry back to George Bush. And, regardless of what your political affiliation is, it does affect you. And I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care if you're Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. I don't care if you're Republican or anything else. If you're in a car wreck or your loved one severely injured or killed in a car wreck, you're not going to get treated different because you're Republican. You won't be treated different because of your political affiliation. You're just a person with a car wreck, which means you're subjected to the same laws and rules as anybody else, regardless of our age, our gender, or our ethnicity. Doesn't matter. So what that means is the laws have been changed now to be totally in favor of the big insurance companies, because they're the biggest lobbyists who give the most money to the Republican Party, who runs for governor, state house representative, state senate, and who those governors appoint on the Texas Supreme Court. So when they decide cases that are going to affect your life, again, whether you're white, Black, or brown, from being in an accident or anything else, it's not going to matter. So for example, when Governor Abbott had his accident before he was the governor, he was injured while jogging and it left him paralyzed, which is why you see him in a wheelchair. Well, he made sure he took advantage of all the personal injury laws at that time and reached a very nice settlement with the people responsible and was able to get paid for his injuries. Well, in contrast, now that he's governor and the majority of their influence and donations politically come from Republicans in the insurance industry who don't want to pay those things out, he has switched sides mentally because he's not benefiting from it personally. And so now these laws are being made that minimize the exposure of what the insurance companies have to pay. So in this large In re Allstate case, basically in a car wreck, what happens is whether you have 10,000 in medical bills, or I've got cases where one of my clients, Mr. Johnson, has 348,000 in medical bills. He had to have back surgery. Well, when we get those bills, we have to prove them up legally. It's called prove them up via affidavit. So you have to send them off. I don't care who your lawyer is. I don't care what color they are, how old they are. It works for everybody. We have to send those bills off if we want to get them into evidence in trial to the providers and they have to sign an affidavit and say, Dr. Ashley's bills, medical records here at Baylor were reasonable and necessary. His bill for us for $26,000 was reasonable and necessary. We have to do that for every provider. Once we get those affidavits, we file them. The defense side, who's defending the lawsuit because they wouldn't pay you what they owed you during the claim process. The defense side, lawyers then can file controverting affidavits. And they go get medical professionals who look at it and say, no, that $26,000, I'm an orthopedic surgeon myself. We think that $26,000 is unreasonable. It really should be $5,000. Now, mind you, you won't find anybody in Dallas or Tarrant County to do the surgery for $5,000, but they'll find someone to sign that and say it. And so when that happens, they've now controverted it. Before, if they don't controvert it, then I don't have to call your doctors live, which can sometimes cost me $700 an hour or whatever for each different provider to come live at trial for your case. So we can win your case. That may cost you, the client, an extra $12,000. That expense comes off your money. And so if it's not controverted, then we don't have to bring them live. The records and bills come into evidence that saves you the client money. Well, now that they've controverted them, we used to be able to win those battles. They changed this new law that just came out that basically says they don't have to show notice or time or place. They don't have to show the details they did before. They could just file something saying they're controverted and instantly, boom. Now I have to bring all those doctors or whoever the custodian of records is to prove up those bills live in court. So that's going to be a lot more depositions, a lot more expenses. It's going to affect the value of everybody's case.
So the Republicans and the insurance industry seem like they're in collusion to create a greater burden of proof on the victims?
Well, they have had a similar interest for many, many years on the way the case law has come down and how it has affected those that are injured and the benefit that it has given by those rulings to the large insurance companies, whether it's, you name them, Geico, Allstate, Progressive, Farmers, Chubb, it doesn't matter, you name it.
My goodness. Well, once again, here on 1040 KTGR, live on Facebook, YouTube, we're talking with attorney Steve Pipkin, and we're talking about legalities and, of course, litigation as we're moving into the holiday season. And we know that some people are going to be drinking and driving, and we don't want you to be a victim. And Mr. Attorney, could you give out your phone number one more time and contact information? And if you are involved in an accident, what are some of the first things that you can do to try to secure the scene and protect yourself and everybody?
Absolutely. The number is 214-780-0512. 214-780-0512. And if you are in an accident, once you're able to gather yourself and prayerfully you don't have an urgent need at that moment, hopefully, then after that, the best thing to do is, as soon as you can, if you can easily get out of your vehicle, use your phone, use your device in your hand that will save your life as far as this incident in the case, because that's your moment to take a picture of the vehicle that hit you before they move it away or down the street, so it'll position and show how the cars were linked. Get out and take a picture of that license plate of that car. I can't tell you how many cases I get called and the people hit and then they drive and take off. I've had some that I've been able to salvage it because they took their license plate, and then I can go into databases that we have and figure out who that is, where the car is registered to. We can contact them that way. If you're able to get out and ask them even before the police, call the police. Now, I'll tell you, the police will say that they won't come out unless someone is injured. Well, just because you say you're injured doesn't mean you have to leave in an ambulance. The good thing is, if you say you're injured, and you may be 2 hours later, but as far as feeling, because your adrenaline's going at that time, sometimes you know on the spot because you may be sitting there cut or immediate pain. Sometimes that pain doesn't come for a few hours at the end of the night. But if you do say that someone's injured, the police will come out and do a report. Why is that valuable? Because if you have the report, they're going to get their information, their name, address, policy number, insurance company. All of that will be on the report, and they're going to provide their police officer opinion that it was their fault. And you need that to be able to file the claim, have us file the claim, and put you on track to be able to receive the compensation you need for your injury.
Yes. And the person who hits you, should you try to talk to them and try to exchange information?
Absolutely. Start out polite, of course, because you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. So, people do make mistakes. And so speak to them and see if, hey, are you okay? I think I'm okay at this moment. if you think you are, and, hey, sorry about that. I was reaching my phone or whatever it may be. And then say, well, hey, do you have your insurance information? And see if they're willing through friendly conversation at that point to provide you where you can take a picture of their insurance card, maybe their driver's license, things like that. Because I promise you, more often than not, their opinion changes when they leave the scene. At the scene, they can be very apologetic, and I'm so sorry, and this happened, and I looked away, or whatever it may be, truthfully. But then by the time it's 4 days later, and you've consulted an attorney, or the next day, 24 hours, and you're calling their insurance company, all of a sudden they've changed. They said, no, you were the one that ran the stop sign, or you were the one that ran the light. And then if the police didn't come out, now it's a swearing match. So for those who know how to instantly hit that button and be able to record, that would be very good. And you can record them while you're talking to them, and you may be able to get them now while they're there saying, I'm so sorry, and blah, blah, blah. And then it doesn't matter what they change their opinion to later that night.
My goodness. Now take, for example, once again, protecting the scene. What does that entail? And should you call an ambulance? And then is there a statute of limitations on an accident?
Well, the police will call an ambulance if they feel one is needed. It's bigger to just call them for sure and get them to come out so they can do a report. And I think you're protected there. If you take pictures of the car, the license plate, try to get their insurance information. If they take off before the police leave, you might record that, as well as, again, pictures of their license plate, and then you can speak to the police when they get there. So that'll protect you from that perspective. And you have 2 years from the date of the accident to be able to file a suit, or you waive everything.
Yes. All right. Well, once again, talking here with attorney Steve Pipkin, that, like I said, now, as we're moving into the holiday season, just be careful. And attorney, what about a lot of these company office parties? If somebody leaves the company office party, they've had too much to drink. Who's liable for something like that? The individual or the company, or?
It would be the company. Now, it depends on situations if they have it as a open bar where you pour your own drink, but most companies will have a situation. Smaller companies may have that. Larger ones will usually pay for professional licensed bartenders to come and serve everyone. So that responsibility would be the same whether you're overserved at a Applebee's or a nightclub or an office party. And that would fall back on, that business entity that failed to monitor how much they were serving, or if the person was underage, or if they just overserved them.
Should you begin to even build a file on this particular accident, keeping your records and building a file so that you've got empirical information that you can turn over to an attorney like yourself? Absolutely.
When you begin making those phone calls at the kitchen table, take your notes of who you called, or if you opened the claim yourself, the claim number they give you, keep the slip that you get from the police officer of the accident report number. And then the moment you call someone like our office, we can definitely take it from there.
Yes. And attorney, also, is there any difference in handling an accident when it involves a car compared to a truck, or is it just still an accident, period?
No, it's definitely different. And you want the expertise of those that actually have experience and have gotten good recoveries doing both, because the commercial vehicles operate under the Federal Motor Carriers Act, and there's a lot of Federal Motor Carrier statutes and requirements involved, and you have to be knowledgeable about that to protect the client up front. We send spoliation letters, which are letters that tells the company we preserve the video surveillance that may have been. A lot of the companies now have video surveillance inside of the tractor trailer of the truck driver. It helps protect them when they weren't at fault, but it also helps protect someone like the public when they were at fault, if it shows them dozing off or whatever may be happening at the time. So if you don't, they're only required to keep some records for 30 days or 60 days. You have to know that as an attorney so that you can send a notice letter telling them to preserve it, not to, if their trailer is damaged, severely damaged. If you wait 2-3 weeks to even hire a lawyer, and that lawyer is not experienced and doesn't know to do that from the beginning, they may have already sold that tractor or trailer for parts, and you're not even going to be able to get your trucking expert in there to mechanically review it to see what was wrong with it. So it's a big difference between running a 18-wheeler or commercial vehicle case versus a passenger.
My goodness. Well, attorney, before we run out of time, we got about maybe 60 seconds here. How do we pay you? Because I'm under some lawyers, you pay upfront fee, but is it no win, no fee? And once again, how can people reach you? And what's the how can people reach?
Absolutely. It's no win, no fee. And so for us, it's a contingent fee, which means it doesn't matter if we work on it 3 months or it takes 2 years, especially with the delay now because the courts were closed for 1 year and 4 months.
Yes, yes.
So, but regardless of how long it takes to work the case, if nothing's recovered for you, then we're just out of that 3 months or that year or 2 years worth of work, and you owe us nothing. And we can be reached at 214-780-0512, 214-780-0512.
All right. And are you available 24/7? Because, we have people that have accidents at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
We do.
Right after church.
Absolutely. We can be reached on our website and we can be contacted, and we'll reach back out and speak to whoever we need to, regardless of the time.
All right. Well, let's give out that contact information one more time. And by the way, where are you located? Are you in Dallas, Fort Worth, or Arlington?
We're in Dallas at right outside of downtown on Turtle Creek and Maple, right off of also 35 and Oak Lawn, just a block in from there. So we're close, and we service everywhere. And we can be reached on our website, pipkinlawfirm.com, or also the 214-780-0512 number.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we have been talking about legalities and litigation with attorney Steve Pipkins. And once again, as we get ready to go through this holiday season and from here on out, you've got to have a personal attorney. You need a personal attorney. And I can vouch for this attorney because when I was involved in an accident, and of course, he had been advertising with us on Heaven 97 and now on 1040, we utilized his services, and I was thoroughly pleased. But once again, attorney Steve Pipkins, we want to thank you for continuing to work with us, sir. And we pray that you'll have a great holiday season. And once again, we are honored to have had you here on 1040, and of course, our Facebook page live and YouTube. And we want you to have a blessed day. And once again, we thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you, Robert. God bless.
Right. God bless you. Once again, attorney Steve Pipkin, I'm Robert Ashley. We'll see you and want you to have a blessed day.